"Get out of there now, Sarah. The floor's about to collapse." Captain Reynolds shouted through the radio. Sarah Miller, 35 years old, firefighter lieutenant with 12 years at Station 43, pressed forward through the smoke-filled hallway. "Two more children unaccounted for, sir. I can hear them." Her radio crackled again, but this time it was her phone vibrating. Glancing at her smartwatch while adjusting her oxygen mask, Sarah's heart stopped. "A message from Michael? It's over. Don't come home." The building groaned ominously above her as a child's cry pierced through the chaos. "With all due respect, Captain," she replied, voice steady despite the twin infernos raging around and within her, "I'm going in. Hit that subscribe button now if you believe loyalty should always be rewarded. Only someone who supports betrayal would refuse." Stay with me as we discover how Sarah handles this devastating blow during the most critical moment of her career, and the unexpected ally who'll stand by her side. The heat was unbearable as Sarah navigated through the collapsing structure. Insulation and drywall crashed behind her, but she pushed forward until she found them. Two terrified children huddled in a bathtub, a wet towel pressed against their faces. "I've got you," she whispered, scooping them up. "Hold on tight." The trio emerged from the building just as the second floor collapsed. Paramedics rushed to take the children as cameras flashed, another life-saving rescue for the record books. Back at the station, Sarah peeled off her soot-covered gear, her muscles screaming from exertion. Only then did she check her phone properly. The message from Michael wasn't alone. 17 bank alerts followed it. "No," she whispered, seeing the notifications. Checking balances, 0. Transfers, completed. Joint savings, emptied. Sarah's hands didn't shake as she scrolled, though her throat tightened. She remembered Michael's recent behavior, password changes on their accounts, hushed phone conversations that ended abruptly when she entered the room, working late with no overtime on his paychecks. She'd attributed it to stress from his job promotion. How convenient that her 24-hour shifts gave him plenty of time alone. "You should take some time," Captain Reynolds said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "That was a hell of a rescue, and now this. Personal situation." Sarah secured her locker, her expression unreadable. "With respect, Captain, I'd rather be here. I have shift coverage for Thompson's family emergency tomorrow anyway." "Sarah, I'm fine," she said, though the word felt hollow. "The job doesn't stop because my marriage did." She walked away, not letting anyone see as she discreetly wiped a single tear. There would be time for crying later. Now, she needed information and a plan. Sarah's neighborhood seemed unnervingly normal as she pulled into her driveway. Birds chirped, sprinklers ran, while her world imploded. Her sister Amy's blue Mazda sat in her usual spot. Inside, the house felt empty despite Amy's presence. Sarah found her in the kitchen, frantically packing a bag. "Going somewhere?" Sarah asked, her voice dangerously calm. Amy froze. Sarah, I can explain. Save it." Sarah surveyed the room. Michael's belongings were gone. So were the vintage watches her father had left her, and the small safe from their bedroom. While Amy stammered excuses, Sarah called Marcus, a detective from financial crimes she'd helped during a suspected arson case last year. "I need a favor," she said simply. Marcus arrived within the hour. Amy had fled, leaving behind only a tear-stained note Sarah didn't bother to read. "He's been busy," Marcus said, reviewing the financial damage. "Credit cards in your name, a second mortgage application using electronic signatures, and these loan documents, they're forged." Sarah nodded, cataloging each betrayal methodically. Her training kicked in. Assess the damage, identify resources, develop a strategy. A knock at the door revealed Dave Chen, a fellow lieutenant from the next shift. "Heard what happened," he said. "My brother's the best family law attorney in the state. He's waiting for your call." Dave's eyes held no pity, just solid support and something fiercer that Sarah couldn't name. "This isn't just divorce territory," Marcus warned. "This is criminal." "Good," Sarah replied. "Then let's treat it like a crime scene." Despite concerned glances, Sarah arrived for her shift the next morning precisely on time. She'd spent the night cataloging what remained of her possessions and identity, both significantly diminished. "You should be resting," Reynolds said. "I rest. I think I break." Sarah checked equipment with mechanical precision. "Here I save lives." During lunch break, Sarah called Jen, her sister's closest friend. I always thought it was weird, Jen admitted reluctantly. They've been seeing each other for at least 8 months. Amy swore it wasn't serious until Michael started saying he couldn't take your job stress anymore, always wondering if you'd come home. Sarah ended the call, another piece slotting into place. 8 months. While she'd been working overtime to save for their dream vacation, Dave dropped by with paperwork from his brother. We've frozen what accounts we could, he explained. Started the identity theft reports. My brother says timing is everything now. Sarah nodded, grateful for his matter-of-fact approach. That evening, a local news segment featured dramatic helicopter footage of yesterday's rescue. Heroic firefighter Lieutenant Sarah Miller entered the collapsing building despite evacuation orders, saving 3 children moments before structural failure, the reporter announced. Several colleagues gathered around the TV, cheering. Sarah slipped away unnoticed. In the locker room, she stared at her reflection. The woman who had entered that burning building was gone. A different person had emerged, someone harder, wiser, and unexpectedly dangerous to those who had betrayed her. Her phone chimed with a text from Marcus. Found something big. Call ASAP. Your sister was his spy, Marcus explained, spreading documents across Sarah's kitchen table. These text messages show Amy tracking your shift schedule for months, reporting to Michael whenever you'd be gone for extended periods. Sarah examined the evidence with clinical detachment, pushing emotion aside, like she did when analyzing a fire scene. Here's where it gets interesting, Marcus continued. Michael used your profession against you. Look at these emails to your bank and investment company. The messages cited Sarah's high-risk occupation and frequent exposure to toxic environments as justification for Michael's need to control their finances in case of her incapacitation. He claimed to have power of attorney? Sarah asked. Falsified, Marcus confirmed. The notary's signature is forged. I've already flagged it. Dave's brother James arrived with more documentation. He's opened accounts in 3 states, transferred most assets, and applied for additional credit lines. The good news? Bank fraud investigations move quickly, with clear evidence, which we have plenty of. Sarah's phone buzzed, Chief Wallace requesting her presence at headquarters tomorrow. Someone tipped him off, Dave said grimly. Amy, Sarah confirmed. She always did run to authority figures when cornered. The next morning, Sarah sat across from Chief Wallace, expecting the worst. Instead, he pushed a business card across his desk. Department Legal Counsel, he explained. Full resources at your disposal. The service stands behind its own, Lieutenant. His expression hardened. Your husband has contacted our PR department, attempting to access information about your schedule and the upcoming Medal of Valor nomination for yesterday's rescue. Sarah's surprise must have shown. You didn't know? The mayor's office fast-tracked it. The ceremony is next week. The chief leaned forward. This department protects heroes, Sarah, and we've just begun. Outside, Dave waited. Ready for phase 2? He asked quietly. Sarah nodded. Time to spring the trap. Subscribe now if you stand for fairness and strategic justice. Only someone who believes betrayal should go unpunished would hesitate. The tables are about to turn in Sarah's favor, and you won't want to miss the moment her husband realizes exactly who he betrayed and what it's going to cost him. We've documented everything, James explained to Sarah in the conference room of his law firm. The banks have flagged all transactions as fraudulent and initiated their own investigation. Sarah nodded, studying the timeline they'd created. What about the loans in my name? Already disputed with credit bureaus, Dave answered, sliding a folder across the table. The fraud department has your shift logs proving you couldn't have been present for those applications. Beyond the glass walls, paralegals rushed back and forth with documents bearing federal letterheads. Identity theft had escalated this beyond a simple divorce. Now we wait, James said. Continue your normal routine. Let Michael think he's gotten away with it. Sarah did exactly that, throwing herself into her work with renewed focus. The department psychologist called it trauma response. Sarah called it survival. 2 weeks later, a 4-alarm fire erupted in an assisted living facility. Sarah led her team through the smoke-choked corridors, carrying elderly residents to safety when the evacuation chair malfunctioned. The moment she emerged with Mrs. Patterson, an 87-year-old widow clutching her late husband's photo, Camera crews swarmed. "Lieutenant Miller, can you describe what happened inside?" reporters shouted. Sarah handed Mrs. Patterson to waiting paramedics, removed her helmet, and faced the cameras squarely. For the first time, she didn't step back from the spotlight. "We do what needs doing," she said simply. "No one gets left behind." The clip went viral. By nightfall, the mayor announced Sarah would receive the Medal of Valor at a televised ceremony. That evening, Marcus called with the final piece. "Federal investigators found the offshore account. Everything's documented. They're moving in tomorrow." "Perfect timing," Dave said, showing Sarah the official ceremony invitation. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Let's make sure Michael has a front row seat to all of it." Michael first saw Sarah on the morning news, soot-streaked, determined, carrying an elderly woman from certain death. The anchors praised her heroism, mentioning the upcoming Medal of Valor ceremony. The second time, federal agents were pounding on his door. "Michael Miller?" An agent flashed credentials. "We have a warrant regarding financial fraud and identity theft charges." Michael's calls to Sarah went straight to voicemail. His texts received automated responses. In desperation, he sent flowers to the station with a card reading, "I made a terrible mistake. Please call me." Sarah forwarded photos of the flowers to Marcus, who added them to the harassment documentation. Amy wasn't so lucky. Sarah found her waiting outside the station after shift. "Please," Amy begged, mascara streaking down her face. "Michael manipulated me too. He said your job was killing you, that you needed out but couldn't admit it." Sarah regarded her sister with the same evaluating gaze she used at fire scenes to determine which structures would collapse next. "You had access to my schedule to check on me after dangerous calls," Sarah said flatly. "Instead, you used it to schedule your affair. Get help, Amy. Just not from me." On the morning of the ceremony, Michael's assets were frozen. James delivered the news to Sarah personally. "The prosecutor is pushing for maximum penalties on the identity theft charges. Your sister has agreed to testify against him regarding the forged documents." "And the money?" Sarah asked. "Recovery process has begun. The forensic accountants found most of it." Sarah nodded, fingering the crisp uniform she'd press for tomorrow's ceremony. "Will you be okay seeing him in court?" Dave asked quietly. Sarah looked out the window at the city she'd sworn to protect. "I've walked through fire for strangers," she said. "I can certainly face the man who betrayed me." The courthouse meeting was Michael's idea, a final attempt at reconciliation before the preliminary hearing. "You look good," he offered as Sarah took her seat across from him, her attorney silent beside her. "So do orange jumpsuits, apparently," she replied, noting his detention center attire. Michael leaned forward. "This got out of hand. I never meant to get caught," Sarah finished. "Tell me, was it worth it? Trading 12 years of marriage for what? 8 months with my sister?" "You were never home," he countered weakly. "Always at the station, always running into burning buildings." "Always serving others," Sarah corrected. "That's who I've been since the day we met. You just stopped seeing value in it." Michael's eyes darted to the metal pin on her uniform jacket. "I saw you on TV. The whole city's calling you a hero." "I was always a hero," Sarah said quietly. "You just weren't worth saving." She stood to leave. "Sarah, please. Our history is exactly that," she finished. "History." Outside, the firefighter crew from 3 stations stood in silent support, flanking the courthouse steps. Captain Reynolds nodded as she emerged. Dave waited by his truck, a respectful distance away. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt light. The burden of betrayal was no longer hers to carry. Sarah's new apartment sat 3 blocks from the station, small but filled with natural light. The department had rallied around her. Fellow firefighters helped move what possessions remained, while others donated furniture and kitchenware. 1 month after the courthouse meeting, Sarah responded to a warehouse fire where she found a trembling German Shepherd puppy huddled behind debris. "No identifying tags," the animal control officer said. "He'll go to the shelter tomorrow." "No," Sarah decided. "He's coming with me." She named him Phoenix. The fire safety program for elementary schools became Sarah's passion project. Children gathered around, wide-eyed, as she demonstrated stop-drop roll with Phoenix performing alongside her. Dave often joined these demonstrations, his easy rapport with children complementing Sarah's more structured approach. He never pushed for more than friendship, respecting the walls she'd built. "Phoenix likes you," Sarah commented one evening as they walked the dog after shift. "Smart dog," Dave replied with a gentle smile. "He knows who the good ones are." As summer turned to fall, Sarah's apartment gradually transformed into a home. The court-ordered restitution payments funded a modest retirement account. Her credit score was recovering. Most importantly, she was sleeping through the night again, Phoenix curled at her feet, no longer startling awake from nightmares of betrayal and burning buildings. The letter arrived on department stationery, forwarded from headquarters. Inside was a crayon drawing of a firefighter carrying 3 stick figures labeled "Us" from a red-orange blaze. "Our children wouldn't be alive without you," the accompanying note read. "Would you consider speaking at our community safety event next month?" Sarah agreed, surprising herself. At the community center, she shared practical fire safety tips, but the Q&A session veered personal when someone asked how she stayed calm during crises. "You focus on what matters," she answered honestly. "And surround yourself with people who value your worth." Several women approached her afterward, whispering thanks for inspiration to leave their own toxic relationships. Later, over coffee, Dave revealed why her story resonated with him. "My mother endured my father's financial abuse for years," he explained. "Watching you fight back helped heal old wounds I didn't know I still carried." Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. The Medal of Valor ceremony took place exactly 6 months after the assisted living facility rescue. City Hall gleamed with polished brass and pressed uniforms, television cameras positioned strategically. Sarah stood backstage, adjusting her dress uniform one last time. "Ready?" Dave asked, offering his arm. She nodded, suddenly grateful for his steady presence these past months. The mayor's introduction highlighted Sarah's career achievements and recent rescues. When Sarah approached the podium, Dave stood behind her right shoulder, a quiet guardian. The medal felt substantial against her chest, matching the weight of all she'd overcome. "This honor reflects not just my actions, but the support system that enables first responders to run toward danger," Sarah said into the microphone. "Sometimes the most devastating fires aren't the ones we're called to fight, but the betrayals we face at home." She turned slightly toward Dave. "And sometimes the greatest rescues come from those who simply stand beside us, asking nothing but offering everything." Dave's hand found hers as cameras flashed. Across town, Michael watched the broadcast from the correctional facility's common room, the sight of their joined hands revealing everything he'd lost. Sarah's voice continued strong and clear. "From ashes we rebuild, not the same structures but stronger ones, fireproof and built to last." Subscribe now if you believe real strength is rebuilding better after betrayal. Only those who think giving up is the answer would walk away. The Payback Hour brings you stories of resilience that prove sometimes losing everything is just the beginning of finding something better. Join our community today.